I'm Rajiv, and today we are at the Ukrainian Institute, which is right there, that beautiful building on the corner of East 79th Street and 5th Avenue here in New York City. We're going inside to learn all about Pysanky, Ukrainian Easter eggs. I'm here in the lobby of the Ukrainian Institute, and I'm with Sofika Zielyk, who is the curator of a very special exhibit. Sofika, thanks so much for being with us today.
It is my pleasure, thank you.
I have passed this building many times on my bike, and I've marveled at how beautiful it was, but I never knew what was inside.
It's a beautiful landmark building that everybody should visit.
It was built as a mansion originally?
It was built as a mansion, a one-family home.
Wow.
And then about 75 years ago, an immigrant from Ukraine bought this beautiful building for the Ukrainian community. This is a cultural institution. They have conferences, music concerts, get-togethers, everything you can think of.
Look at this, the carved banister, the whole...
All the way up.
Wow. Sofika, were you born here in the States?
Yes, I was born in New York. I'm a native New Yorker.
But your parents came from Ukraine?
My parents came from Ukraine as teenagers. They were fleeing the war. They were fleeing the communists, the Russians, and the Nazis. But they met at one of these dances for the Ukrainian diaspora.
Really? Both your parents are still...
94 and 92.
Wow.
Still around,
That's
still
wonderful.
healthy.
You were saying they live in the same building as you do?
Yes, I live on the 3rd floor and they live in the 1st floor.
Oh, that's so nice.
So it's very, and it used to be that the whole family lived in the building.
Really?
Grandparents, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews.
Wow. This beautiful room we're in, I think, is a perfect example of how wonderful this building is. And I love this story of a Ukrainian gentleman gifting this building to the Ukrainian people of New York. What was his name?
William Juice.
William Juice.
William Juice came here in the early part of the 19th century, invented the fastener for an airplane. The part is still used today.
Wow.
And had a vision of a place that Ukrainians could feel at home.
The great thing about a building like this is it gives you a platform where you can share anything. And this is where I think what's so wonderful about why we're meeting today is you were very inspired 2 years ago to put on an exhibit of something that I have known about since I was 8 years old. Can you tell us about the exhibit that you've put on here?
2 years ago, February 24th, everybody knows what happened. We woke up and we saw Russia bombing Ukraine. And at first, it was shock, as everybody was shocked. And then that went into anger. And then a few days after that, I had a physical need to do something. I had to do something, but there was nothing I could do. And then I realized that actually I do have a weapon, and it was cultural diplomacy. During a war, when the enemy wants to wipe out a nation, culture is extremely important. And there is a legend. As an ethnographer, I study folk art, but my specialty is Pysanky, which are Ukrainian Easter eggs. And there's a legend that says, if people are making these eggs, the world will continue to exist. So I had this idea that the whole world should join into this. And on social media, I put for people, Ukrainian, non-Ukrainian, old, young, whoever, to send in a Ukrainian Easter egg, a pysanka. And now, after 2 years, we have more than 800 eggs from 15 different countries. But what is the gist of this project? The tradition of the pysanka is like the metaphor for Ukrainian people, because it started so long ago. It went through famine, occupation, wars, artificial famine, everything that you can possibly imagine, and yet it survived till today.
I was 8 years old. I was in, I think, 3rd grade, and my classmate, Tanya Soloka, at Easter time, her mom came in. I don't even know her first name because I always knew her as Mrs.
Mrs.
Saloka.
Saloka, yes.
Mrs. Saloka came in and set up at the front of the classroom and demonstrated. And I think my mouth was open the whole time. And all I kept thinking was, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that.
And then when she took off the wax, your mouth dropped open and you had to say,
yeah, that was the magic part.
Exactly.
And I'm sure, I don't know exactly how it transpired, but I was this kind of kid that I went up to her and I said, where do I get this stuff? How do I get this stuff? And Mrs. Saloka was so generous and gave me the dies. She gave me 2 little kiskas that had the copper tips, and I did that every year. First it started with my sisters, and then it became a family thing with my 30 cousins. And
You had Pysanky parties.
We did. On Easter, we would always do it on Easter Sunday. My mom would make lunch, and we would make these eggs. So this Pysanky has been a part of my life since I was a little kid. I have always wanted to meet someone who was an authority, and there is a timely significance to the meaning of these eggs.
More than 800 eggs.
Wow. From all over the world?
From all over the world. We just received eggs from Abu Dhabi.
So, can you pronounce it?
It's Pysanky. The accent is on the first syllable. Pysanky is plural. Pysanka is singular. It comes from the verb pisate, meaning to write. Okay. It's writing on an egg, letters to the sun god.
So, Pysanky?
Yes, very good.
Pysanka.
You have Ukrainian blood in you.
I'm sure
yes,
I do.
You do.
I have Tanya Saloka's
friendship
that has instilled something in me for the Pysanky.
Yes.
So, Pysanky, if you were to sum up what it is.
Pysanky is many century-old tradition that started in the area now known as Ukraine to bring back the sun god after a long winter. This tradition started in pre-Christian times. It was passed down from mother to daughter orally. These eggs were not meant to be kept.
Really?
No. They had functions. They would be buried in the ground for a good harvest. Very many rituals. People had large bowls of Easter eggs, of Pysanky, and every time they went out, they would take an egg with them because it was a protection against evil spirits. Way back when, it wasn't important to have straight lines, just as long as the symbols were there. This was not craft, this was not decorative arts, this was ritualistic arts. But in the 20th century, the emphasis was now on the complexity of design and the perfection of design. This egg, well, 2 that are my favorite. This is from the granddaughter of a woman who was born in Poland. She came to the States in the 20s, became a social worker, and she worked with Holocaust survivors. She was gifted this egg by a Ukrainian refugee right after World War II. Her granddaughter heard about this installation and sent us this egg.
When was this egg made?
Probably in the 40s or 50s.
Really?
Yeah. And then this egg was done by a woman who is now in her 90s, and her daughter wrote, her mother has dementia. She doesn't realize that there is war in Ukraine, but she's sure that her mother would have loved to contribute to this installation.
May I?
Of course.
Please? These eggs are real eggs from chickens, from...
Mostly chicken.
So, these big ones are...
Goose. And then we have one, I believe this is a pigeon egg.
This is so beautiful. When you have attempted this, you can really appreciate looking at the lines on these eggs. And I have to just emphasize, this was made entirely by hand.
Oh, entirely by hand, in the batik style.
Yeah.
Every region of Ukraine had their specialty. And this is from the Hutsul region, and we can even go further. This would be either the village of Kolomeya or Kosmach.
You can trace it to the
Yes.
village?
In the Hutsul Mountains, in the Carpathian Mountains, people thought they had to do Pysanky in order for the world to exist. And since only women were allowed to do these eggs, the fate of the world rested on women's shoulders.
Wow.
Whereas this is from another region. It's called the Podillia region. And this is really difficult to it's like you need a doctorate in mathematics to figure this out. But all the lines are connected. It symbolizes eternity. There's no end. They continue to come in almost every day from 15 countries now, from almost every state in the Union. And they come from, well, just Abu Dhabi, from France. We're expecting a shipment from Budapest, from Hungary. People involved from all over the world. They want peace. And through these eggs, through this fragile little thing that has been going on for centuries and centuries, we're asking for peace.
Are you still accepting eggs?
Absolutely.
So if anyone out there is interested in sending an egg, where can they send?
Everything is on the website
of the
Ukrainian Institute of America, as well as on my website, sofika.com. And all the eggs, we're asking for blown out eggs because it's just very messy if you send in a full egg. And yes, we're accepting eggs. We still don't have eggs from Hawaii, from Alaska, and a few I believe Arkansas.
Okay, so
yes,
there you've heard it, Arkansas, Hawaii, Alaska.
And on the website, there's a whole map of the world. And it's listed where eggs come from. So if you live if you live in China or India,
you've got
that's
to get
still
some,
blank.
Get some dye and get some beeswax and make a pysanka.
Make a pysanka, and your pysanky will go to Ukraine and help with the rebirth.
All of these eggs
of these eggs will travel to Ukraine, yes.
Wow. Sofika, thank you so much for welcoming us into the Ukrainian Institute and sharing this very meaningful exhibit with not only me, but everybody watching. As I said before, this has been something that has been with me since I was 8 years old, and as a personal story, it has come full circle in my now home, New York City. It really is an honor to meet you and to be here today, so thank you.
It was my absolute pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.